Copyright. Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. Look, I'm out. Dermatologist said everything's looking wonderful. I only have to put the medicine on the open areas, which is fantastic news for us. It'll last much longer that way, which is always a great idea because it saves money. The medicine's free, but the lotion that I mix it in isn't. Guess what? Dunkin' Donuts is finally open. We finally made it! Yay! Yay! We didn't get Baskin Robbins because it's 9:30 in the morning, so. But we are going to get Mexican pizza on the way home because today's Mexican pizza. Today's my mom's birthday, and that was her favorite Taco Bell, and that's where we're going, and that's why we're getting it. Just saying. Jim's like, what's this wee stuff, Cochise? But
she got a mouse in her pocket. She doesn't want to pull him out.
I really do want to go to the Dollar Tree. He did say he would take me to the Dollar Tree. I'm very tired because I didn't sleep last night, so I'm going to see when we start to drive back if I feel maybe the caffeine and sugar rush will help.
Help you? What about me?
I know, I told you to get something. Silly man. Silly rabbit. Tricks are for kids. Do you want a chai tea latte? We can stop at Starbucks. We have Starbucks money. Yeah, let's do that. We'll just go 2 more exits.
Yeah, but then I have to go through traffic to get in.
That's okay. You got the light to your advantage. The light on Pine Street is fine. I promise. I've got you back. Okay. All right. We'll catch you in a bit. Yeah, we're gonna not have a copyright infringement on my channel. I asked Jim to play that for Mary Fry, for the baby Elijah. Her vlog yesterday. Every time they turn that song off the radio, he starts to cry. So when you think about it, we love that song. So just wanted to check in. It's 11 o'clock in the morning and we just got Taco Bell. I know what you're thinking. Taco Bell, 11 o'clock in the morning. I think he's letting you go.
Yeah, it's the
people on the outside. Well, they don't know what you're trying. Like, thank you. There you go.
What's it like?
Sorry. Oh, looks like it's free. I mentioned it before and I'll mention it again. Today is my mother's 80th birthday, or would be my mother's 80th birthday. I mean, it still is. She's just not here to celebrate it. It's her heavenly birthday. Today she would have turned 80. And today the Mexican pizza came back to Taco Bell, which after a hiatus is very, very exciting news. And to remind you, if I hadn't said it yet, it was my mother's favorite item at Taco Bell. Now, it used to be the light tacos that they used to have, but they stopped. They used to have a light taco shell that was actually really like the Mexican pizza crust, that real thin, airy, floury tortilla. Those were her favorite, but they discontinued them a long time ago, way before she died. So, what was that?
I don't know.
Okay, that was weird. So.
No, hers was a bing bong.
Right, bing bong, right. So, that's where we're at right now, and we're headed home. We were gonna go to the Dollar Tree. We pulled into the parking lot for the Dollar Tree, and it looked like it might as well have been a Saturday morning. The place was packed, beyond measure. So, I have a couple ideas that I asked Jim. I said, maybe we'll try to go out later. The other thing I'm gonna ask him is maybe we'll try to go to Salem. Salem is way less busy, and it is 20 minutes down the road as opposed to 10, but it sometimes is worth it when you don't have to deal with crowds. And it's not very far, it's not very hard directions. It's basically head straight down this road and then make a left and it's the first block on the right. So that's something I think he can handle. And it's a lot less traffic going down to Salem than there is, or over to Salem than there is going to like St. Louis.
Thing I can handle. I can't handle driving with you in the car. Ah!
He's not supposed to be looking at the camera. He's supposed to be watching the road.
I am. The car's coming at me. So
I know.
The
so the doctor's appointment, I think did I touch base after the doctor's appointment? Yes, I did, right?
I don't know.
That we went to, yeah, because we went to Dunkin' Donuts. Doctor is very successful. Like I was saying before, I only have to put the cream on the open areas, which is great. That actually, and she also said she wouldn't do it twice a day on the open areas, which is great news because that'll also help. That lady has the most beautiful, I had to take a picture of it someday. That lady has the most beautiful
flowers.
No, what? Yes, but that's not what I'm trying to say. Bulbs, annuals, perennial garden. She's just got bulbs planted, all different ones, and they come up at all different times of the spring and summer. So it's just gorgeous. This is a giant patch of...
Hey, let's get out of here, put you in your wheelchair and see if you can beat me down the hill.
Excuse me. This is what he's talking about. He wants to send me down that hill. Isn't he rude? I'm just saying. But anyway, it's so beautiful. She's got everything. She's got daylilies. She's got irises, all different color irises. Okay, that just came on by itself.
Yeah, it did.
Jim's phone and Amazon Music Unlimited is having a lot of issues. So I don't know what's going on, but we're home. That block is our block that he wanted to throw me down.
I thought you'd have fun rolling down the hill.
I would totally have fun rolling down the hill. You know that.
Mom's not here.
Oh, Mom's not home. But we're home, and I hope the walker wasn't in her way.
Well, I tried to make sure it wasn't. It looks like she might have moved it a little
Okay,
bit.
good. But we're home now, so yay. And I'll pick you back up maybe. I don't know. Oh, here, iris shot 2022. So those are Mom's irises transplanted from New York. I think I told you guys that story, but maybe I'll pick up the camera and tell you that story inside. Hi, everybody. So today was a pretty good afternoon. We came back. It's nighttime now. It's bedtime. We came in, and Mom came in right behind us. So then we ended up, we got her donuts from Dunkin' Donuts, and she wanted to talk about the trips, and what the plans were, whatever. I don't know, a bunch of stuff. So asked how the doctor went and that kind of thing. And then the visiting nurse came to look at all the wounds, and we talked about the doctor, and there was a whole big issue with the heparin for the port flush. So she's hoping it'll get straightened out and she'll be able to come by tomorrow and flush that for me. So the iris story, I'm not really sure if you guys know it, but here's how it goes. My whole memory growing up was there was in our front yard, we had a gate that walked, the front walkway had a gate. It was kind of in the middle of the front of the yard. I'm standing on my front porch looking out at the street. The whole right side was just shrubs until the driveway, and then shrubs on the other side of the driveway, which when we were growing up, there was actually, the driveway was gated, like the yard was gated, but over the years, just like, I think when my brother and sisters all learned how to drive, that became like a crash zone. Not really sure what happened, to be honest, but we no longer had those. We actually had them until the flood. They were actually on the side of my house by the clothesline. I actually propped them up against the house, and they were kind of like where we grew wild raspberries. Anyhow, you know who loved the wild raspberries, Jimmy? Do you remember what critter was always in the wild raspberries?
Where?
At 481. Do you remember what? I'll do this. Does this help?
Oh, the squirrel.
No. Green, little.
Oh, praying mantis.
Yeah, they would love those raspberries. They used to be always on the side of the house, in those raspberry bushes. But anyway, so the left side of the fence, which is actually the grassy area of the front yard, the doors on my old house were, I'm sure you guys have seen pictures, but the doors were on the left side of the house. So the walkway went up to the left side of the house. The other side of the yard was all like the side yard, and then the front yard was, if I'm looking at the house, the front yard was on the right side with a little grassy area up to the street. So my whole life growing up, I'm standing on the front porch and I'm looking at the street. To the left of the walkway, just to the left of the front gate, was a corner patch of iris, and on the far side of the front fence was a corner patch of iris. So my whole life growing up, that's what the flowers were. My mother had a rose bush and a lilac bush on the side of the house. We had pine trees and like oak trees and stuff like that in the front of the house that came and went and all those types of things. But for the most part, that was what she really liked. So as the years went by, I started receiving as a teacher and buying in later years like Easter plants. I would love to get like Easter tulips. They would, wait till the day after Easter and they'd be super cheap. But my favorite one that I ever bought was from a it was called Pat's Farm Stand, and I believe it was Belmore, but it might have been Merrick. I don't know exactly. It was on Merrick Avenue though, and I think it was Merrick, but it might have been Belmore. Anyway, Pat's Farm Stand, we went there for the fresh ham one year, and I found, oh gosh, that was the first time that I ever had my hands on fresh Brussels sprouts that was still on like the stem. You know, Brussels sprouts grow on a stalk like that. Anyway, come reel it in, baby, reel it in. They had a potted plant that had 4 different types of bulbs in it. It had hyacinths, tulips, baby daffodils, and I want to say it was hyacinths, tulips, baby daffodils. And now I'm thinking about it. I think it was a pink hyacinth and a purple hyacinth were across the corners from each other. And then the tulips and the baby daffodils were over there. But I think that's what it was. Because when I'm trying to remember, I think that's what it was. And this was the story of, like, I didn't know much about, like, I wasn't an official gardener kind of thing. Every year I potted all my annuals. We did, kept them watered, and we grew tomatoes, and it was nothing like, I liked my garden, but I was not like, I wasn't studied, whatever. So here's what I did know. The extent of what I did know was, it's best to plant bulbs in right before the first frost, basically. So what I used to do is, after the holidays, the flowers would die off, I would just leave the bulbs, I would shake the dirt out, I'd leave the bulbs on my porch, let the dirt dry out to let the bulbs dry out, and, just keep them there until I can take the bulbs out and dry the bulbs out and put them in the utility room. My utility room is where I kept like gardening stuff that, like, between seasons or whatever. Like, I would keep the gardening stuff on the porch, and then in the winter I would put it in the utility room. So I had that plant from Pat's on my porch, dying out or whatever, and the critters ate it. I don't know if it was a squirrel. I'm pretty sure it was some type of squirrel. It could have been a raccoon. Who knows? But all we know is I looked down in there, and, like, one of the bulbs was completely eaten in half. One of them was, like, seemed like it was missing. And then the other 2 looked like they had just been chewed in. So I was like, okay. So one of the things we did every year, with our perennials, with our annuals, whatever we had potted, is my dad had these big plastic tubs that used to have some kind of industrial fluid in them. I'm sure he would get at, like, job sites. And he had one big white one, and he had these little blue ones. And the little blue ones he made for crabbing and fishing. Those were his fishing buckets. They had rope handles and stuff. And then we had one that was like an old beer, like party beer tub type of thing. So what we had on my porch was, we would take the party beer tub thing, we would dump all the old dirt in that, and this would now become the base soil for our big potted plants in the wintertime. In the next summer. What we would do is take off most of the dirt of the perennials. You don't want to leave your pots full so that they crack, but you also don't want to leave them totally empty so that they fill with water and crack and become ice. So what we would do is just, like, take out whatever had growth and take out, like, half of the dirt, and we would, for the 2 big pots, the rest of the pots, we would just dump all the dirt out and put the pots away, because they were easy enough to do. So, all the old dirt went to this bucket. So I took that I took out the bulbs that I knew were chewed up or whatever, and I took that other dirt and I threw it in that bucket. And the bucket, then we cover, sorry about that, that bucket we used to cover with the big plastic bucket, to keep the dirt from getting snow in it, and, so cats don't pee in it and that kind of thing. The next spring, we took the bucket off, and the missing hyacinth bulb had sprouted and bloomed in this, I guess we made an atrium. And it wasn't even like it wouldn't have bloomed had it been in the garden because it wasn't warm enough yet, but because we had created this environment, I opened it up and I was like, oh my goodness, that was like an amazing miracle. So by this time, all these times I would get tulips and stuff, I would just stick the bulbs in that corner yard. So if I'm looking at the street on my front porch, the corner that's closest to the left was bigger, and the area was bigger, and I would just be like, okay, let's move these irises and stick a bulb in there and see if it takes. If it takes, it does. If it doesn't, I'm not out anything else. I paid $3 for the plant. I had the plant during Easter and whatever. If I save it, I don't. Well, it ended up being they would grow and grow. As a matter of fact, one year, I don't know if we didn't know obviously if it was a squirrel or a raccoon or a dog, but somebody had dug in there and thrown one of the bulbs, and all of a sudden a tulip started growing like under my shrub. And we were like, okay, what are you doing there? Okay, so anyway, Mom had these giant irises. Well, I got to the point, my sister, I decided to redo my front garden. I don't know what kind of pictures that I have. If I have pictures that I can access, I will totally put them up in this video or maybe at the end. But what I ended up doing was digging out all of the iris bulbs. You should really separate your irises. They do become so overcrowded that they sometimes don't bloom like they should. So you basically should, there's a name for it when you take them apart and not propagate them, but you should break them down. That's not it either. So what I ended up doing was, standing on my porch looking at the street, I ended up digging out the entire channel. We had a chain link fence. So the giant channel from the sidewalk about 8 inches in, or a foot in. Was it a foot in the fence, Jimmy, as far as you can remember?
Yeah,
it's like a foot guard, right? So like a foot in the fence. I went out to the sidewalk, and I did all the way to the sidewalk, cleaned up all of the years of like overgrown grass that was growing up the poles, dug it all out, dug out all the weeds, just made this beautiful like fence line garden. And what I did was I dug out all the bulbs everywhere. I gave some of the irises to my sister. At the same time, my sister, who lived down the block from me, was kind of doing the same thing with her tiger lilies. They were taking over. So she was able to give me some of her tiger lilies. So what I was able to do, and at the time, I didn't know exactly, like, when you see the bulbs, you're like, okay, I don't know the difference between a tulip bulb and a daffodil bulb without looking it up. But I do know that these four are the same. So they're either 4 tulips or 4 tiger lilies or 4 iris. You know what I mean? Like, iris bulbs are very distinctive looking. They look almost like pieces of ginger. I mean, it's the best way I could describe them. But the other ones are very bulbous, like oniony type bulbuses, you know. Not all of them, but some of them. So it's like, I don't know exactly what is what, but I do know that these 5 are the same, these 6 are the same, these 4 are the same, like that. So I ended up digging out this channel, laying in some new fresh dirt, and putting like a plastic border around the edge, on the edge towards the inside of the yard, so that when my nephews cut the grass, or my brother cut the grass, whoever got to cut the grass at the time, Jimmy cut the grass, whoever was cutting the grass, I cut the grass, my brother cut the grass, everybody cut the grass. Whoever was cutting the grass could go up to that border, kind of actually run the wheels in the garden and still be okay, get all the way up to the edge. And what I did was, I did a bulb, another different kind of 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 bulb, and repeat. So what I was thinking what would happen, and it's actually what ended up happening is that all of these bulbs, like I told you about the lady who lives down the block, they all come up at different times in the spring. So we knew it would be like irises every 3 feet. Well, first, I think the first things that come up, we didn't get any of Janie's crocuses, right?
That's my knowledge.
Yeah, those are the like baby looking tulips. We never got those. I feel like the hyacinths would come up first, then the tulips, then the irises, and then the tiger lilies. I feel like that's the order into which they were. And I did have baby daffodils in there somewhere, and I don't remember exactly what order they were in. So it would just come up like, we would have, you know, it would look like this. 5 different things. And then 2 weeks later, 5 different things. Then 2 weeks later, 5 different things. And we'd have constant color in the front of the yard for the spring. All the spring. And then just about the time that all of the bulbs stop producing, they do still leave their leaves and everything, which is nice. But by the time they stop producing is when it's time in New York to plant your perennials. So inside the yard is when we had these big giant planter buckets that we did impatiens, multicolored impatiens. And then my father really loved wax begonias, the fuzzy leaf ones that have the leaves. He said and the truth is, he was right. Even after like hurricane force winds, if it blew all the petals off, there was still like red color in the leaves that still looked like still looked pretty until the flowers could come back. And we had those in like ledge boxes on the porch. The begonias were. So the impatiens were the 2 big potted plants. In the middle we had a square bucket. I think it was an old milk thing that we used to do whatever was left over. No joke. Like, we would set up the planter boxes on the ledge and with the begonias and put impatiens. And I had 3 or 4 hanging baskets of impatiens. And whatever was left over, like I tried to make them even. If I had extra plants that would go in the middle of that floor, whether it was 3 begonias and 2 impatiens or whatever. So I feel like I have some pictures on my phone that I can share of my garden. So stick around to the very end and I will add them for you guys. Just so you have an idea of what I was talking about. And when I took Mom's irises out of the 2 corner pots and planted them along the way, there was so much left over. So I gave some to my sister Jane, who in turn grew them in her garden and gave them to the people around the neighborhood. They're basically, my mom's irises were growing everywhere until the hurricane came. And they still might be, but they just were until. And the rest of them I had in a 5-gallon bucket in my utility room up on a shelf. So after Superstorm Sandy, when we went back in September with the moving van to get all our stuff, after we were buying this house and moving in, we went back with the moving van and I went through all of the things that I could think of. And one of the things was to get all of those irises. I got the bucket of irises out of the utility room and I said, I'm going to try if I can plant them in Missouri. They weren't going to do anything there anyway. You know, they're very hardy. I think my nephew had shared pictures with me, like every year they do come back up. There, even after the flood waters had done so much damage for a couple of years, they kind of lay dormant, and now they come back up every year. So, but I will share pictures, whatever I have on my phone, whatever I can scavenge for you guys to show kind of an idea of what my garden looked like there. So that's the story of the irises. That's the story of the New York to Missouri iris transplant, and that's why they're my mom's irises. So I'm grateful for I'm grateful that I'm able to have a piece of her with me. And what's great about it is I can kind of, because they propagate so quickly over the years, I could take them wherever I go, if that makes any sense. So yeah, it's exciting. So that's it, and I'm glad I got to give you this little bit of story time and got to get out today, and it was lots of fun. And listen, I love you, and I got Dunkin' Donuts, so I'm happy. If nobody's told you today that you were loved, you can always come by and hear how much I love you, okay? Okay. And as always, you guys, take care, God bless, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.